From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, February 21st, 2022. Cold temperatures spreading back across the prairie. We've got those temps in the minus 20 to minus 25 range in many locations across the prairie here early Monday morning. Take a look at the satellite picture here, infrared satellite. You can see this big trough being carved out within the jet stream here, an area of low pressure across the west coast. It's going to be continuing to move off to the east as we head through the next few days, bringing a lot of precipitation to portions of the central and southern United States. We did deliver a little light snow as advertised across portions of southern Alberta, and southwest Saskatchewan here, but quite light in nature. And if we look at snow water equivalent with that, that is to say, taking all the snow, melting it down, how much liquid do we actually have there? And again, we look at southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan, we're certainly talking about the light end here, less than 5 centimeters worth of liquid there. You see the darker purples here as you head off to the east across portions of southern Manitoba into North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. That's where you've got more like your 10 to 25 centimeters worth of liquid there in the snow. So heavier snow on the ground off to the east. Not much of anything there as you go across central into maybe south central Saskatchewan. And then again, you get into southern Alberta, southwest, and extreme southern Saskatchewan. We've got that fresh, light snowpack on the ground as that system continues to move off to the south and to the east. Again, as we look at the radar here early Monday morning, much of the snowfall now moving off to the south of the U.S. border into portions of Montana, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, getting a couple of rounds of snow here. It's going to be quiet across the Canadian prairie as we head through the rest of the week. And we'll see that here. Look at the NAM model, animating it through Thursday. Again, you see a little clipper system try and slide down here. Really, what you're seeing, it less in the way of a clipper. We're seeing high pressure, waves of high pressure kind of making their way through the prairie. And again, we get anticyclonic, but clockwise flow around that. So what you're seeing here as we get into Thursday is just the wind coming up against the mountains here briefly to bring some flurries to portions of western, and then maybe southwestern Alberta as we get into the late week. So between now and midday Thursday, here's what you have as far as total snow accumulation. Again, much of the heavier precipitation moving off south of the U.S. border. Here's your flurries as we get into Thursday and maybe Friday. Otherwise, we're talking about dry, quiet conditions across the prairie through the work week. Side by side, the European model, the American GFS model, the next week of precipitation departure from average. Again, quiet conditions across the prairie here. Much of the precipitation moving off across the central and eastern United States as we head through the next 5 to 7 days. So here's the jet stream as we get started on Monday morning. Again, big ridge across the Pacific. That's the stubborn ridge right here that has kept us in this pattern here where all we can really manifest are these light doses of snowfall with clippers that ride up and over the top of that ridge and then dive down into the Canadian prairie. Now, as we get into early this week, we've allowed this trough to deepen a bit more here, kind of attaching it to the trough across the Hudson Bay. But this goes away as we head through the next few days. Watch what happens here as we go through the next couple of days. This trough continues off to the south and to the east, and we allow that ridge to start building back into Western Canada as we get toward the end of the week. So high pressure at the surface here for the next 5 days or so is going to keep precipitation out of the area. Let's go ahead and jump back. We'll look at the precipitation animation from the European model. Again, here's all the snow moving off to the south and to the east today. High pressure settling in across the prairie, and that's going to park itself there as we head through the rest of the work week. So here's your Tuesday. Getting into Wednesday, high pressure situated over the area. Thursday, this is when we see that chance for maybe some light flurries across western Alberta, perhaps lingering into Friday, but this is not an organized storm system that's delivering that. We're all the way into Friday here. Look at this high pressure just dominating not only the prairie, but much of the central United States now. We've got troughing trying to make its way back in across the Pacific. We've got the original trough lifting now across the Atlantic. So quiet weather in the midsection of the United States here east of the Rockies as we head all the way into the coming weekend, and not even much in the way of winds. You know, we've seen these clipper systems bringing in gusty winds across the prairie over the last few weeks. Here's your total accumulated wind gusts between now and Thursday. And again, we're not even talking about getting those gusts above 20, 30 knots as we head through the rest of the week here. So generally really quiet, albeit cold conditions across the prairie through the rest of the week. Not that much to talk about. Again, the next 5 days, your precipitation anomaly. Here's your Thursday, Friday flurries. Otherwise, we're talking about dry conditions across the prairie. Days 5 to 10, still dry, although we're starting to bring some moisture back in here, at least, teasing the idea of getting some moisture back into the prairie as we get to kind of days 7, 8, 9, and 10. Your temperatures, again, cold temps sliding in and, encompassing the entire prairie early this week. We'll start to see those fade late week into the weekend. Slowly but surely, from west to east, we'll start to see that warmth return as the ridge of high pressure begins to slide back in and begin to dominate things. So we'll look at the ensemble picture here and take it all the way out through the next 15 days. Again, here's the story right now. Big ridge. We've allowed this trough to deepen across the western United States. This is, it brought some snow, but this is not an ideal pattern for, a whopping drought buster precipitation event across the prairie. We've talked about what that would look like, and it's, extended troughing across this region, lasting for, 1 to 2 weeks with several storm systems riding in on that trough and making their way into the prairie. That's just not happening right now. We get that trough, we just keep it moving. The ridge slides back into western Canada here late week into the weekend, continues to dominate things all the way into the first few days of March, before here's a little system that's going to slide in and do the exact same thing as advertised right now in kind of days 11, 12, and 13. That pesky ridge is still there. We're just allowing a trough to temporarily swing in here across the western United States, potentially bringing some precipitation back in days 10 to 15. But again, that is not the ideal look. This is just kind of more of the same. Maybe we'll be talking about a light chance for some snow making its way in days 10 to 15. I'm sorry, it's a pessimistic forecast, but that's what we've got here. If you're looking for moisture, this is not your 10 days. Unfortunately, the city charts here that I use for your temperature forecast usually are not working this morning. So we'll look at a whole prairie view of your highs over the next few days. Again, those high temperatures generally in the upper negative teens across central and southern Alberta, negative 20 to negative 25 across Saskatchewan and Alberta. Much of the same as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. It's as we get into Thursday, we'll start to see the warmth slowly starting to nudge in from the west. Those highs in the minus single-digit range as we get into Thursday afternoon across central and southern Alberta, warming ever so slightly more as we head into Friday. So quiet, cold, dry for the next 7 days. We'll reevaluate as we get into next week.